Party games, a genre that you either have a blast with or one that really stamps in the idea that you don't have any friends. Historically, there's been a lot of them. Anticipation, You Don't Know Jack, Mario Party, Crash Bash, South Park, Chef's Love Shack, Jackbox, Shrek's Super Party, there's tons of them. Because the idea of multiplayer is awesome. But sometimes it isn't awesome. And I discovered that recently by being graced by the lovely amalgamation of society's failures known as My Street. My Street was created by Idle Minds, and they do still exist. They just do business as Deck 9 now. And no, none of their games really stand out. They just kind of exist. But what is My Street? My Street is quite literally a party game on the PS2. It contains a very mindless plot that sneaks up on you, but through and through, it's a party game. So let's take a look at it and review it. The box art is pretty neat. We have well, all of these kids look like they have a condition. What that condition is yet to be determined. But the back at least looks promising. It says 7 challenging mini games as you take on the neighborhood. So we have a variety of games, novel ones it seems, based on street games children play. We have online multiplayer, that sounds pretty interesting for what it is. All we have to worry about is comic mischief, which seems pretty timid. The manual isn't that bad either, we just have some interesting mini games. RC racing, volleyball, chicken herding, lawnmowers, chemistry, and dodgeball. You know, Mom and Dad always told me that they needed to check my candy during Halloween for drugs. I have a sneaking suspicion that to me, this town actually has that problem. But let's go in with a fresh mind. No sense in judging a game without playing it, right? When we boot the game, we're graced with a rogues gallery of whatever street this is, where children are born without spines and the socioeconomic status changes from door to door. We have kids of all varieties. Love the diversity. From the get-go, it doesn't look that bad. It has that weird PS2 era fun charm that would appeal to a kid. We have a story mode, a play mode, which is local multiplayer. And of course, this does support network play, which if you were me, you give a fuck about because my parents couldn't afford a network adapter. And the idea of a slim PS2 with a network adapter built in, that didn't exist yet. And even if it did, there was no way my dad would get another PS2 for that sole reason. Then we have options and we have credits, which if you put credits within the first 5 minutes of a game, I can already come to the conclusion that this game might be shit, because you're giving me all the people to blame. True story. Well, the meat and bones of this is the single player mode, so let's choose that. Oh cool, I can create my own troglodyte homunculus. Sweet! We can customize our characters to our heart's content. We can have a bowl cut, a receding hairline by 12, we can be a pimp, a legionnaire, Willy Wonka, whatever the fuck that is. We can culturally appropriate, we can wear a bucket, work the coal mines, we can culturally appropriate again. These combinations are insane. I'm impartial to the Larry Laffer comb over. We have face options where we can look progressively more inbred, be an orc, or... Fucking blackface? Really? This past QA, all 30 of them, not one person said, hey, you know, I know we're already making the kids be very customizable and we're being very eccentric with it, but I noticed one of the selections might be iffy. Nah, man, it'll be fine. This here's a party game. This is a big reason why I got out of QA even when I worked at Electronic Arts. Even if someone suggested it, it likely wouldn't have been removed, but I digress. Let's create our character. We really want them to stand out among the community, be as imposing as possible, establish our dominance. Fuck yeah! Let's give them a name. What? You know, I've played tons of games, but never once have I said to myself, you know what I'm tired of? A normal keyboard. I'm gonna name you 7, child. Deal with it. So we're in the game. Obviously I've played it before, I've actually beaten it, but not the way it was intended, but I did. I got the bad ending. As I mentioned, the plot is relatively straightforward, but shallow. We have to beat the bully before August 24th, because that's when school starts, so bear that in mind. The whole idea is that we need to beat all of the minigames to unlock the final minigame and beat the bully, which is dodgeball. Because if we don't, we get a bad ending where the bully takes our lunch money for the whole school year. But here's the issue. I didn't know that. So now that I do, let's put on our game face and establish dominance in this new neighborhood. When you start the game, you're dropped off in the middle of the street by a careless mother who tells you to go make friends. But there's zero insight as to who you can interact with, so it's a race against time to find not only the people, but to satisfy their asinine requests to even be able to play their minigame. I lost a day in-game trying to figure out who to talk to, and if you get too far away from the house, or try to swim without your floaties, your mom gets on your ass and starts counting to 3! That's terrifying if you're a kid. So here's what you do. First off, we need to play a marble game at Anne's house. She's the hippie chick, but we can't play marbles until we buy marbles, which cost 55 cents at the corner store. So we run back, buy the marbles, and we run back to start the game. We control a marble and we move around grabbing smaller balls with the intention of passing them through a goal. These balls are magnetic. With every minigame, there are 3 rounds, and they're progressively more difficult. Plus, the whole time you get to listen to zingers from these kids like this.
Quill lover!
With the game beat, we get Annie's floaties, which lets us go get Sean's volleyball that was sent to the island outside of the tiki bar. But by now it's so late that we need to go to bed, which brings up a specific point I want to make. We can only usually do 3 games per day, and that eats up your time. So you might be thinking, hey, I should save often, right? No, saving costs time. Fuck! Well, it's a new day, a new chance to take on our next minigame, volleyball. Volleyball is incredibly broken, and it's a fine example of how the character control in this game boils down to RNG in some cases. We can do the normal moves, bump, set, spike, but good luck getting the timing right, and the other side almost never misses. And we're doing rally scoring, so you have to hope and pray that your computer-controlled teammate doesn't drop the ball. Literally. When I played this was the minigame that screwed me over. It took so long to try to beat it, and due to that, it ate up my days and I got the bad ending. Controlling anyone feels impossible, so the only way to power through this is bump, set, and spike. And a 4th move, praying that the computer doesn't fuck you over. The camera in this is atrocious. How are you expected to see where the volleyball is going to be when the opponent spikes it if I can't see it? With beating volleyball, we get the code of the weird science kid, the one with a leaking nuclear reactor in his background, but bear in mind, we have a limited time frame, and our mother mentions our neighbor. Bear that in mind. The minigame at the science kid's house is probably the best. It's just Puyo Puyo, except when we get enough blocks cleared, we can choose which one of the kids to dump the garbage on. If I cared enough to be competitive in this, then I would play strategically, but to be honest, this minigame is so stupid easy that as long as you make combos, you're good to go. Winning this gives us an apparatus, aka a gas tank. What do we do with it? Well, Science Kid's neighbor has a really cool minigame that they thought of. Lawnmower racing. Well, we have a gas tank, so we need to fill it up with something, right? Obviously, gas. So we need to flip-flop our frumpty ass to the gas station, fill up our tank, and waddle back to the lawnmower races. The races are pretty simple. We race our lawnmowers. The whole idea is that we mow grass and we don't mow the flowers. If we do, we lose points, which is never good considering we only have a few tries to do this. Now, you remember when I said that your mom says the neighbor next door needs help? We should probably hop on that. The next door neighbor is very country. She talks about her brother uncle a lot. And this is a child dressed like this. Anyway, she has this neat game called chicken herding, and the only way to do it is to do this little shit's chores. So what do? We feed the pigs, feed the chickens, and move this USDA Prime asshole out of the barn. There's no method or madness to it. She just moves at her own whim. It's tedious. After that, we're allowed to play chicken herding, and the game is exactly what you feel it would be. Essentially, there's one big coop in the middle that acts as a portal to whatever hellspawn these chickens come from, and they stream out like the Flood in Halo, and we have to route them to our own coops. We do that by dropping down tiles with arrows of our choosing, but this game is notoriously hard and it can be over in a few seconds. It does require a bit of strategy, which I don't mind, especially considering how brainless the other games are, but as a chicken owner, I have to ask, why are there thousands of chickens in one box? So we did that, and because we did that, we earn a special privilege. We can get $5 a day to do Susie's chores. Yay. And guess what? It matters, because we need to buy an RC car for the next minigame, which means we need to do chores every day for 7 days. So we wake up, go outside, deal with the chickens, get $5, and if you're me, you've already played the other minigames, so You don't have anything to do but go back to sleep and do it again. Now, it can be argued that you could spread them out if you really wanted to, make most of your days, but I just prefer to knock out all the games because, you know, I'm playing a video game, not a life choice. Now that we have the money, we can buy the RC car and we can race. RC car racing is pretty straightforward, and that is to say it's RC car racing in the most complicated way comprehensibly imagined by a bored developer. The first 2 race sets, not bad, then they get quirky. The third race is done with 2 people going one way and the other 2 going the opposite direction, meaning not only do I have to contend with one person going the same way that I am, I also have to worry about an extremely combative AI that will 100% fuck me out of the race going in an opposite direction. In some ways it feels like RNG. But once we win, we have like 4 days left to spare, and that means going to face the bully in 3 rounds of dodgeball. Now, dodgeball is my favorite minigame, mostly because nothing pleases me more than pinging the shit out of these functioning zygotes that I've come accustomed to playing minigames with. And to be honest, it's just dodgeball. I mean, there are power-ups. You can throw the ball, you can jump and throw it, you can catch it sometimes. Sometimes you get these like steroids. It's stupid. But once you beat it, you beat it. The bully admits to being wrong, and the game is effectively over. All in all, this game is a very watered-down, low-effort attempt at a party game. Let's rate it. The art isn't bad, but it isn't good. It's pretty par for the course for an era it came out in. The environments look great. The music might as well have been ripped out of generic library number 5, but that's what BAFTA award-winning musician Chuck Dowd wanted. By the way, senior music director of Demon's Souls, Gran Turismo 7, Death Stranding, Helldivers 2, The Last of Us, God of War Ragnarok. We could have had that, but no. The controls are disgusting in this game, and everything feels like it needs a little extra effort, and the gameplay experience is very misleading and generally unfun, so I'm gonna have to give it an F. I'm sure if you had friends to play this with, it would be something to pass the time, but I feel the novelty of it would fade away rather quickly. And that's it for today's episode. Have you ever sat down and played this game? What's your take on it? Feel free to tell the community down below in the comments section, and if you made it to the end of this episode, you're already home in our community. We're a group of retro gaming enthusiasts that love remembering a time when life was just a little bit easier to live, and if that's something you vibe with, then feel free to join. We're currently working towards 8,000 subscribers, and if we make that happen, I'll do a special video of the community's choosing. Finally, the single most important thing you can do for me is to hit that thumbs up button, as it directly impacts the visibility of the videos and the projects I work on every single day. As always, from my family to your family, good energy, good vibes, Fortefyre out.